News of the human victory at Zephyrian Prime spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 different worlds, in 100 different languages, the same impossible story was being told. The mighty Hegemony Collective had been defeated by a species no one had ever heard of. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, led a liberation fleet toward the first occupied Zephyrian colony. His force included human ships and Zephyrian volunteers who had learned to fight alongside their new allies. The Discovery, his old exploration vessel, now served as a command ship coordinating the rescue mission. "Admiral, we're approaching Zephyr 4, reported his communications officer, Lisa Martinez. "The collective garrison is requesting permission to surrender." Jake smiled. Word of War Prince Mordek's defeat had reached every collective outpost. Most of their commanders no longer wanted to fight humans. "Tell them we accept their surrender. Colonel Foster's Marines will secure their ships and weapons. Any collective soldiers who cooperate will be treated fairly." The liberation of Zephyr 4 took only 3 hours. The collective troops, demoralized and leaderless, offered no resistance. When the human Marines opened the prison camps, thousands of Zephyrian civilians emerged, blinking in the sunlight of freedom. Jake watched from his ship's bridge as families were reunited on the planet's surface. Zephyrian children who had never seen their homeworld ran through crystal gardens that had been forbidden to them for 2 years. "Sir," Lisa said quietly, "we're receiving messages from the other occupied colonies. The collective forces there want to surrender too. And beyond Zephyrian space, long-range communications are picking up signals from dozens of systems. Species that were conquered by the collective are rising up. They're asking for human assistance." Jake nodded. The liberation was spreading faster than they could travel. Fear of human military power was causing collective forces across the galaxy to retreat or surrender rather than fight. Meanwhile, in the deepest regions of collective space, the ruling council was meeting in emergency session. High Archon Valesh, the supreme leader of their empire, sat on his obsidian throne surrounded by his surviving war princes. "Explain to me," Valesh said in a voice like grinding stone, "how a single human fleet destroyed our most powerful armada." War Prince Kethvar, one of the few survivors from Mordok's fleet, trembled as he spoke. "My lord, their weapons ignore our shields. Their fighters move like nothing we have ever seen. And their soldiers? They fight like demons protecting their young. They captured 12 of our ships intact," added War Prince Talron. "They took our people prisoner instead of killing them. They showed mercy to defeated enemies." Valesh's eyes glowed with ancient anger. The collective had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. They had never encountered an enemy that combined superior military skill with moral principles. "What do our spies tell us about Earth?" he asked. "My lord, our intelligence is limited, but we believe they have much larger fleets hidden in their home system. And worse, they are forming alliances with every species we have conquered. Our empire is beginning to collapse." Valesh stood from his throne. For the first time in centuries, he felt something he had never experienced before: fear. "Send a message to Earth," he commanded. "Tell them I wish to discuss terms." 6 months later, President Robert Hayes stood in the newly built diplomatic center on Earth's moon. Through the transparent walls, he could see ships from 17 different species docked at the same station. The galaxy had changed more in half a year than it had in the previous century. Ambassador Kale Vorfik walked beside him, no longer the desperate, frightened alien who had sent that first plea for help. Now he served as Earth's primary liaison. With the growing alliance of free worlds, the Andromedan Trade Federation has requested formal diplomatic relations, Kale reported. They want to establish trade routes with both Earth and the Zephyrian Republic. And the crystal hierarchies? There. restructuring their entire military doctrine. Apparently, they've decided that energy weapons and massive ships are outdated. They want to learn human fighter tactics. Hayes nodded. The galaxy's major powers were all scrambling to understand how humans had achieved the impossible. Some wanted to become allies, others wanted to copy human technology, and a few were quietly surrendering territory they had taken from weaker species. What about the collective's peace proposal? High Archon Valesh will arrive tomorrow for the final negotiations. He's bringing representatives from all 17 conquered systems. The peace talks had taken months to arrange. The collective, facing rebellions on dozens of worlds and defections from their own military, had finally agreed to Earth's terms. They would release all enslaved populations, pay reparations to devastated worlds, and submit to joint human Zephyrian oversight of their military activities. In exchange, humanity had agreed to share certain non-military technologies and establish trade relationships. More importantly, Earth had promised not to invade collective space as long as they honored the peace treaty. "Sir," Kale said quietly, "there's something I need to tell you. Something my people discovered in our ancient records." Hayes looked at his alien friend with concern. "What is it?" "Before the collective came to our space, we had legends about a warrior species that would come from distant stars to protect the innocent. We thought they were just stories our ancestors told to give us hope." Kale's crystalline features showed deep emotion. "But the descriptions in those legends, they match humans perfectly. Beings who fight not for conquest, but for justice. Who risk their lives for strangers. Who show mercy to defeated enemies. You think your people somehow knew about us? I think the universe has a way of bringing together those who need each other," Kale replied. "My people needed protectors. Your people needed a purpose that would unite them. Perhaps our meeting was not as accidental as it seemed." Hayes considered this as they walked toward the main conference room. Through the windows, he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone in the universe. Now they were at the center of the largest peaceful alliance the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Patricia Kane met them at the conference room entrance. She now commanded the joint human Zephyrian Defense Force with ships and crews from a dozen different species under her command. "Admiral, how are our new recruits working out?" Hayes asked. "Better than expected, sir. The Zephyrians are natural strategists, and some of the other species bring unique abilities. The crystalline hierarchy's pilots can see in dimensions we can't even imagine, and the Andromedans have engineering skills that make our technology look primitive." "Any problems with integration?" "Only good ones," Patricia smiled. "Everyone wants to learn human tactical doctrine. We're having to build new training facilities just to keep up with demand." She paused, then added, "Sir, there's something else. Long-range sensors have detected signals from beyond the galactic rim. There might be other threats out there, bigger than the collective." Hayes nodded. "Then it's good we're making friends." The conference room doors opened, and the final peace negotiations began. High Archon Valesh, looking smaller and older than his reputation suggested, signed the Treaty of Terra alongside representatives from every world the collective had conquered. As the ceremony concluded, Hayes found himself standing next to Dr. Susan Clark, who had become Earth's chief advisor on interspecies relations. "Doctor, what do you think happens next?" "Honestly, Mr. President, I think we've started something that's going to change the galaxy forever. For the first time in recorded history, the major powers are cooperating instead of fighting. Peaceful species are emerging from hiding. Scientific and cultural exchange is happening on a scale we never imagined." She pointed to the observation deck, where humans, Zephyrians, and a dozen other species were working together on joint research projects. "But most importantly," she continued, We've shown that it's possible to be both strong and good. That military power can be used to protect rather than conquer. Hayes watched a group of human children playing with young Zephyrians, their laughter echoing through the station's crystal corridors. 6 months ago, those children had never seen, and now, alien. Now they were growing up in a universe full of friends. "Admiral Kane," he said, "I want you to send a message to every human ship in the fleet." "Yes, sir?" "Tell them that today marks the end of Operation Thunderstrike. But it also marks the beginning of something bigger. Today, we're not just the Earth Defense Force anymore. We're the guardians of everyone who can't protect themselves." Patricia smiled. "I think our crews will like that mission, sir." As the celebration continued around them, Hayes reflected on how much had changed since Captain Morrison first received that desperate alien message. Humanity had discovered they were not alone in the universe. They had made their first alien friends. They had fought their first interstellar war. Most importantly, they had learned that their greatest strength was not their weapons or their technology, but their willingness to help others. Ambassador Vorthic's plea for help had unleashed Earth's full military might, but it had also unleashed something more powerful, humanity's capacity for compassion. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would human it be. War Prince Thane Mordock stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Through the viewports, he could see his fleet of 400 ships moving toward Zephyrian Prime. Each vessel was a kilometer long, bristling with plasma, cannons and protected by energy shields that had never been penetrated. "My lord," his second-in-command reported, "we are detecting the human fleet. 73 ships total, positioned around the planet." Mordock laughed, a sound like grinding. "Metal." He was 9 feet tall with gray skin and red eyes that glowed in the dim light of his bridge. 73 ships against 400? These humans are either very brave or very stupid. Shall we demand their surrender, my lord? No, Mordock replied. I want to see what makes these creatures think they can challenge the collective. Today, the galaxy will watch as I destroy both the last Zephyrian world and their pathetic human allies. Hidden in the asteroid field around Zephyrian Prime, Admiral Patricia Kane watched the collective fleet approach. The enemy ships moved in. A perfect wall formation, just as the Zephyrians had described. Big, slow, and confident. "All units, this is Admiral Kane," she broadcast on the secure channel. "Remember the plan. Wait for my signal, then hit them hard and fast. Show them what human military tactics look like." Captain Ryan Mitchell responded from the Thunderbolt. "Fleet Command, this is Thunder Leader. All battle cruisers ready. Fighter. Command standing by," reported Squadron Leader Tony Rodriguez from his cockpit. Around him, 200 human fighter craft waited silently in the asteroid field, their engines cold and sensors passive. Marine forces ready for boarding operations. Added Colonel Dan Foster from his assault ship Patricia watched as the collective fleet came within range. Mordock's ships began charging their plasma cannons, preparing to bombard Zephyrian Prime like they had destroyed so many other worlds. Now, Patricia commanded suddenly, the asteroid field came alive. 200 human fighters burst from hiding, their engines blazing as they accelerated toward the collective fleet. The fighters moved in perfect coordination, like a swarm of angry wasps attacking a giant. On Mordock's bridge, alarms began screaming. "My lord, we're detecting hundreds of small craft. They're moving at incredible speed." Mordock stared at the tactical display in confusion. In all his years of conquest, no enemy had ever used small fighters against his capital ships. Destroy them with our point defense systems. But the human fighters were too fast and too numerous. They weaved between the massive collective ships, firing kinetic rounds and micro-missiles. The enemy's energy shields, designed to stop plasma beams, offered no protection against solid projectiles. Tony Rodriguez led his squadron in a diving attack on a collective dreadnought. Fox Squadron, target their weapon systems. Let's see how tough these bullies are when they can't shoot back. His fighters strafed the alien ship's hull, their bullets punching through armor and disabling plasma cannons. The massive vessel tried to turn its defensive weapons on the small craft, but the fighters were already gone, moving to their next target. While the fighters caused chaos in the collective formation, Patricia's battlecruisers struck from another direction. The UE's Thunderbolt, Lightning, and Ranger emerged from behind Zephyrian Prime's moon, their quantum torpedoes already armed. All ships, fire at will, Captain Mitchell ordered. The quantum torpedoes phased through space, passing right through the collective's energy shields as if they didn't exist. They materialized inside enemy ships and detonated, tearing the massive vessels apart from within. Mordak watched in horror as 3 of his dreadnoughts exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Impossible! Their weapons passed through our shields? My Lord, we're taking heavy casualties. The humans are using unknown technology. The War Prince's red eyes blazed with fury. These primitive creatures were making him look weak in front of his fleet. All ships, ramming speed, crushed them with our superior size. It was exactly what Patricia had hoped he would do. Angry commanders made stupid decisions. "Marines, you're up," she broadcast. Colonel Foster's assault ships had been waiting for this moment. As the collective vessels broke formation and charged forward, the Marines struck. Their stealth ships, invisible to enemy sensors, attached to collective hulls like parasites. "Breach and clear," Foster shouted as his Marines cut through the alien armor with plasma torches. Chief Petty Officer Maria Santos led the first boarding party into the enemy ship. The collective soldiers were 7 feet tall and heavily armored, but they had never fought in the cramped corridors of their own ships. The human Marines were smaller, faster, and much more experienced in close combat. "Left corridor clear," Maria reported as her team moved deeper into the ship, moving toward the communication center. Behind her, Sergeant Tim Brooks carried a specialized hacking device. If they could reach the ship's communication array, he could broadcast false orders to the entire collective fleet. The breakthrough came when Foster's team captured the command vessel Vengeance of Worlds. Tim plugged his device into the ship's communication system and began transmitting fake orders in the collective's own language. "All units, this is War Prince Mordak," Tim broadcast, using a voice synthesizer. "Fall back to minimum safe distance. We are preparing to use Nova weapons." Across the battlefield, collective ships began withdrawing from combat, believing their leader was about to deploy planet-destroying weapons that would kill friend and foe alike. The real Mordak screamed in rage as he watched his fleet scatter. "I gave no such order. Return to battle immediately." But the confusion was complete. Some ships followed the fake orders, others tried to return to battle, and many simply stopped moving as their commanders argued over which signals were real. Captain Amy Sullivan, commanding the UES Lightning, saw her opportunity. "All weapons, target the flagship. Let's end this." The Eternal Dominion was the largest ship in the collective fleet, but it was also the most arrogant. Mordak had never bothered to install heavy armor because his energy shields had always been enough protection. The Lightning's quantum torpedoes struck the flagship's reactor core. The massive ship, over 2 kilometers long, broke apart in a chain of explosions that lit up the entire star system. War Prince Mordak died believing he was invincible, never understanding how primitive humans had defeated his superior technology. Their leader dead and their formation destroyed, the remaining collective ships began to surrender. Some tried to flee, but human fighters hunted them down. Others begged for mercy, broadcasting surrender messages in broken galactic standard. The battle was over in 6 hours. The collective had lost over 300 ships, including their flagship and most of their senior commanders. Human casualties were minimal, 12 fighters lost and 30 Marines wounded. Admiral Kane stood on her bridge, watching the last enemy ship surrender. Around Zephyrian Prime, the human fleet maintained perfect formation, their weapons still ready, but no longer needed. "Admiral," reported Captain Mitchell, "we're receiving surrender offers from all remaining collective vessels." "They're requesting terms," Patricia nodded. "Tell them we'll accept their surrender, but they'll be held as prisoners until this war is over. And send a message to Earth Command. Tell them Operation Thunderstrike was successful." She paused, looking out at the liberated Zephyrian homeworld. "Also tell them that the galaxy just learned what happens when you threaten innocent people while humans are watching." On the planet below, millions of Zephyrians looked up at the stars where their human allies had just won an impossible victory. For the first time in 2 years, they were free. But Patricia knew this was just the beginning. The collective still held 4 Zephyrian worlds and had fleets in 17 different systems. Today's victory had saved one planet. Tomorrow, they would begin liberating the galaxy. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Zephyrian territory. Admiral Patricia Kane stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Thunderbolt, looking at the massive formation of ships around her. 12 battlecruisers, 48 destroyers, and over 200 smaller vessels, the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. "Admiral, we're detecting alien ships approaching," reported Lieutenant Chris Parker, the communications officer. 3 vessels moving slowly. "They don't appear to be hostile," Patricia nodded. "Put them on screen." The main display showed 3 sleek ships with crystal-like hulls that reflected starlight in beautiful patterns. They were smaller than human destroyers, but moved with elegant grace. "Incoming transmission," Chris announced. A new face appeared. On the screen, another blue-skinned alien like Ambassador Vorthik, but this one wore what looked like a military uniform. Her large dark eyes were wide with disbelief. "Unknown vessels. This is Commander Zara Veltar of the Zephyrian Defense Fleet. Please identify yourselves." Patricia stepped forward. "Commander Veltar, this is Admiral Patricia Kane of the Earth. Federation Navy. We received your ambassador's message. We're here to help." Zara's mouth opened in shock. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Then tears began flowing down her crystalline cheeks. You came," she whispered. "The humans really came. We thought. We hoped, but we never truly believed. We're here now," Patricia said gently. "We need to meet with your leaders and assess the situation." "Yes, of course." Zara's voice was excited now. "Ambassador Vorthik is waiting on our command station. He has been monitoring communications for any sign of your arrival. He will be so happy to see you." 2 hours later, Patricia found herself aboard a Zephyrian space station, walking through corridors that looked like they were carved from giant crystals. The walls gave off a soft, pleasant glow, and everything was designed with smooth, flowing curves. Ambassador Vorthik was waiting in the main conference room. When he saw Patricia enter, his legs gave out and he collapsed into a chair, sobbing. With relief, "You heard us," he said through his tears. "After all these years, someone finally heard us." Patricia sat across from him. Through Lieutenant Parker's translation device, she could understand every word. "Tell me about the collective," she said. "We need to know what we're fighting." Vorthik wiped his eyes and activated a holographic display. It showed the Zephyrian star system, with 7 planets marked in different colors. "These 4 worlds are already gone," he said, pointing to red dots. "The collective arrived 2 years ago. They demanded we surrender and become part of their empire. When we refused, they attacked. The display showed massive alien ships bombarding planets from orbit. Patricia watched in anger as cities were destroyed and people fled in panic. Their ships are huge, Vorthik continued. Much larger than yours. They have energy shields that protect them from our weapons, and plasma cannons that can crack a planet's surface. Their soldiers are 7 feet tall and wear armor that makes them nearly invincible. Captain Ryan Mitchell, commander of the Thunderbolt, leaned forward. How many ships do they have? In this system, about 400. But their total fleet is much larger. They have conquered 17 star systems. No one has ever defeated them in battle. Patricia's tactical officer, Commander Beth Taylor, studied the display. What about their tactics? How do they fight? They form a wall of ships and advance slowly, Zara explained. Their shields protect them while they destroy everything in range with plasma fire. They don't use small fighters, only large capital ships. Beth and Ryan exchanged glances. Patricia could see them thinking. They've never fought humans before, Ryan said quietly. They don't know about our weapons or our tactics. What do you mean? Vorthik asked. Most of our weapons are kinetic, Beth explained. Bullets, missiles, torpedoes that physically hit the target. If their shields are designed to stop energy weapons, they might not work against solid projectiles. And we use fighters, Ryan added. Lots of small, fast ships working together. It sounds like they've never seen that kind of attack. Patricia nodded. Tell me about their commanders. Who leads their fleet? War Prince Thane Marduk, Vorthik said with fear in his voice. He is cruel and arrogant. He believes the collective is superior to all other life forms. He has personally overseen the destruction of 6 different species. Arrogant commanders make mistakes, Patricia observed. What about their ground forces? Powerful but not very flexible, Zara replied. They rely on their armor and strength. They've never faced opponents who use tactics and coordination instead of brute force. Marine Colonel Dan Foster, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Admiral, request permission to begin training joint operations with Zephyrian volunteers. You want to train aliens to fight? Patricia asked. I want to train people to fight for their homes, Dan replied. These Zephyrians know their own planets better than we do. If we can teach them basic military tactics, they'll be valuable allies. Vorthik looked hopeful. Some of our people want to fight back. They are not warriors, but they are angry about what has happened to our worlds. It won't be easy, Dan warned. Combat is dangerous, and most of your people have never seen violence. Our children are dying, Zara said firmly. Our worlds are burning. We will learn to fight if it means we can save what's left of our people. Patricia made her decision. Colonel Foster, begin training programs immediately. Commander Taylor, I want tactical plans for engaging collective forces. Captain Mitchell, prepare the fleet for combat operations. She turned back to Vorthik. Ambassador, we're going to need detailed information about collective ship designs, weapons capabilities, and patrol patterns. And we'll need it fast. Why fast? He asked. Because according to our long-range sensors, a large collective fleet is heading this way. Over 400 ships, led by what I assume is Marduk's flagship. Vorthik's face went pale. How long do we have? 3 days, maybe 4. The room was silent as everyone realized what this meant. The battle that would decide the fate of the Zephyrian Republic was about to begin. Admiral, Ryan said, our ships are good, but we're outnumbered 10 to 1. Are you sure we can win this? Patricia looked around the room at her human officers and their new alien allies. These Zephyrians had suffered for years, waiting for someone to help them. They had sent desperate messages into space, hoping against hope that someone would care enough to answer. "Captain Mitchell," she said, "the collective has been bullying peaceful species for decades. They think they're invincible because no one has ever stood up to them. They've never fought humans before. They don't know about our weapons, our tactics, or our determination to protect innocent people." She paused, then smiled grimly. "War Prince Mordok is about to get an education in human military doctrine, and I don't think he's going to like the lesson." Outside the station, the human fleet began moving into defensive positions around the remaining Zephyrian worlds. In 3 days, 2 very different philosophies would meet in battle: the collective's belief that might makes right, and humanity's conviction that the strong should protect the weak. The galaxy was about to discover which philosophy was stronger. Admiral Patricia Kane walked quickly through the halls of Terra Defense Headquarters. It was 3 in the morning, but the building was fully lit and busy with activity. Word of the alien message had reached Earth 6 hours ago, and no one was sleeping. She entered the emergency meeting room, where the Earth Federation Council was already gathered. President Robert Hayes sat at the head of the table, looking tired but alert. Around him sat the most powerful people on Earth. "Admiral Kane," the president said as she took her seat, "we've all seen the message from the Discovery. What's your initial assessment?" Patricia opened her tablet and displayed a star map on the room's main screen. "The Zephyrian Republic is located here, in the Vega sector, 12 light years from Earth. If we believe their message, they're facing extinction from something called the Hegemony Collective." Defense Secretary Alan Cooper leaned forward. "Do we have any information about this collective? Any previous contact or intelligence reports?" "Nothing direct," Patricia replied. "But our deep space monitoring stations have detected strange energy. Signatures from that region over the past few years. High-energy plasma discharges consistent with large-scale orbital bombardment." Foreign Minister Helen Brooks looked worried. "So we're talking about a military force capable of destroying entire planets?" "It appears so. The Zephyrians claim the collective has already taken 4 of their 7 worlds. Based on the timeline, they might all be dead by now." The room fell quiet. Alan Cooper cleared his throat. "With respect, Admiral, this isn't our fight. We don't know these aliens. We don't know if their story is true. And we certainly don't know if we can trust them." "You want to ignore a plea for help?" Helen asked sharply. "I want to protect Earth," Alan shot back. "We're talking about traveling 12 light years to fight an unknown enemy with unknown capabilities. What if this collective decides Earth is a threat? What if we lose our fleet trying to help strangers?" President Hayes raised his hand for silence. "General Stone, what can you tell us about our military capabilities?" General Marcus Stone, head of Special Operations, stood up. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his years as a Marine. "Mr. President, I need to brief you on some classified projects." He activated a security screen around the room, then brought up new images. "For the past 50 years, we've been preparing for the possibility of hostile alien contact. We have technologies that the public doesn't know about." The screen showed massive ships under construction in hidden space stations. Project Titan has built 12 heavy battlecruisers, each one larger and more powerful than anything in our regular fleet. They're equipped with quantum torpedoes, adaptive AI fighter swarms, and armor that can survive a direct nuclear blast. Patricia felt her eyes widen. She had heard rumors about secret projects, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. "Our quantum torpedoes don't rely on explosions," Marcus continued. "They phase through normal matter and detonate inside enemy ships. Energy shields can't stop them. And our fighter AI can coordinate thousands of small ships to attack like a swarm of angry bees." Alan Cooper looked impressed despite himself. How many ships are we talking about total? 12 battle cruisers, 48 destroyers, and 200 fighter craft, plus support vessels. It represents about 60% of our total military strength. 60%? Helen asked. You're suggesting we risk more than half our fleet for aliens we've never met? Dr. Susan Clark, the government's chief xenobiologist, spoke up. I've been analyzing the Zephyrian message. Their emotional expressions, their social structures, even their body language. It's remarkably similar to human behavior. They show genuine grief, fear, and hope. I believe they're telling the truth. More importantly, she continued, they appear to be truly peaceful. In their message, they never talk about fighting back or revenge. They only talk about survival and protecting their children. This might be the first genuinely non-violent intelligent species we've encountered. President Hayes looked around the table. So we have the capability to help them, and reason to believe they deserve help. The question is whether we should risk it. Marcus Stone stepped forward. Mr. President, our military was built to protect people, not just humans, but anyone who needs protection from bullies. If we ignore this message, what does that say about who we are? It says we're smart enough not to start a war with aliens, Alan argued. Maybe, Marcus replied. Or maybe it says we're cowards who only fight when it's safe. Patricia Kane had been quiet, but now she spoke. There's something else to consider. This hegemony collective sounds like it conquers and enslaves other species. How long before they decide Earth looks valuable? How long before they come for us? The room was silent as everyone thought about this. If we fight them now, in Zephyrian space, we have allies, Patricia continued. If we wait for them to come to us, we fight alone. President Hayes nodded slowly. Dr. Clark, in your professional opinion, are the Zephyrians trustworthy? Based on their communication patterns and emotional responses, yes. They're desperate, but they're not lying or trying to manipulate us. They genuinely need help. The president looked at Marcus Stone. General, can we win against this collective? Unknown, sir. But our technology is different from anything they've probably seen. Most alien civilizations seem to rely on energy weapons and shields. We still use kinetic weapons. Bullets, missiles, things that physically hit the target. If their shields are designed to stop energy, they might not work against our weapons. And if you're wrong? Marcus's face was grim. Then we lose a lot of good people trying to do the right thing. President Hayes stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the lights of the city. Everyone waited while he thought. Finally, he turned back to the group. 30 years ago, my grandfather fought in the last war on Earth. He used to tell me that the only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. He paused, then continued. The Zephyrians asked for help because they heard we were warriors who protect others. Maybe it's time to show the galaxy that those stories are true. The president looked directly at Admiral Kane. Patricia, I'm authorizing Operation Thunderstrike. You have permission to take 60% of our fleet to Zephyrian space. Your mission is to evaluate the situation and, if possible, provide military assistance to the Zephyrian Republic. Patricia stood up. Yes, sir. When do we leave? As soon as possible. Every day we wait, more Zephyrians might die. Alan Cooper shook his head. I still think this is a mistake. We're risking everything for people we don't know. Helen Brooks smiled. No, Alan, we're risking everything for people who need help. That's what makes us human. As the meeting ended, Patricia felt a mixture of excitement and fear. Humanity was about to meet its first alien allies. They were also about to fight their first interstellar war. She thought about Captain Morrison and his crew on the Discovery, still 12 light-years away in Zephyrian space. Soon, they wouldn't be alone out there, soon. The full might of Earth's military would be heading their way. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Discovery, watching the stars through the wide-view screen. His ship was far from Earth, exploring new worlds in the Kepler 442 system. The Discovery had been out here for 3 months, mapping planets and looking for signs of life. "Captain, I'm getting something strange," said Lisa Martinez, the communications officer. She turned in her chair, her face showing worry. "There's a signal coming from the Vega sector." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of signal?" "It's weak, but it's definitely not natural. Someone is trying to send a message." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Give me a few minutes to clean it up." The bridge became quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Jake's crew gathered around the communications station. They had never found alien life before. No human had ever made contact with another intelligent species. "Got it," Lisa said. The main screen flickered and showed a fuzzy image. Slowly, the picture became clearer. A tall, blue-skinned being appeared on the screen. His skin looked like it was made of tiny crystals that caught the light. His eyes were large and dark, filled with fear. When he spoke, his voice was deep but shaking. "My name is Kale Vorthik. I am an ambassador of the Zephyrian Republic." The alien's words were careful, like he had learned human language from old recordings. "I do not know if anyone will hear this message. I do not know if humans really exist. But we have heard stories about your people from traders who travel between the stars." Jake felt his heart beating faster. This was real. They were talking to an alien. "We are dying," Kale continued. "Our people, our worlds, everything we have, built over thousands of years. The Hegemony Collective has come to our space. They destroy everything. They take our people as slaves. They strip our planets of everything valuable." The image on the screen shook, and Jake could see explosions in the background. Kale looked over his shoulder, then back at the camera. "They have already taken 4 of our 7 worlds. Soon they will reach our home planet. Our ships cannot fight them. Our weapons cannot hurt their vessels. We have tried to run, but they follow us everywhere." Kale's voice broke, and Jake saw tears running down the alien's face. "I have heard that humans are warriors, that you fight to protect others, even strangers. I do not know if this is true. Most species in the galaxy think humans are just primitive animals who never leave their home system." "Sir," whispered Lisa, "this signal is coming from 12 light years away. It took 12 years to reach us." Jake nodded, but kept watching the screen. Kale was still talking. "We have children, Captain, families, artists and scientists and teachers. We have never hurt anyone. We have never taken what belonged to others. All we want is to live in peace. But the collective does not care about peace. They only care about power and resources." The explosions behind Kale got louder. He looked scared, but kept talking. "I am sending this message to every system where humans might be found. I do not ask you to die for strangers. I do not expect you to care about people you have never met. But if there is any mercy in your species, please, help us. We have nowhere else to turn. No one else will stand against the collective." Kale reached toward the camera with one crystal-like hand. "My people will be grateful for any help, even if you can only take some of our children to safety. We just want someone to remember that the Zephyrian Republic existed, that we tried to be good." The signal started to break up. Kale's image flickered. "Please," he said one last time, "if you can hear this, please help us." The screen went dark. The bridge was silent for a long moment. Jake looked at his crew. They all had the same expression: shock, sadness, and anger. "Lisa, how long ago was this recorded?" Jake asked. Based on the signal delay and the background noise, I'd say about 2 weeks ago. So we're seeing something that happened 14 years ago, but was recorded 2 weeks ago? That's right, sir. This message has been traveling through space for over a decade. Jake thought about this. The aliens had been sending this message for years, hoping someone would hear it. How many of their people had died while this signal traveled through the empty space between stars? Get me a secure channel to Earth Command, Jake ordered. Priority 1. Sir, that will take 3 days to reach Earth, said his first officer, Commander Pete Williams. Then we better send it now, Jake replied. And Lisa, I want you to analyze everything about that signal. Language patterns, technology, anything that might help us understand these Zephyrians. What about our mission? Here, Captain? Pete asked. Jake looked back at the dark screen, where Cale's desperate face had been. Our mission just changed, Pete. We came out here to explore and find new life. Well, we found it, and it's in trouble. He turned to address his whole crew. I know what some of you are thinking. These aliens are 12 light years away. Their problems aren't our problems. We don't even know if they're still alive. Jake paused, looking at each face on his bridge. But that message tells us something important. Somewhere out there, peaceful people are being destroyed by bullies. And they've heard enough about humans to believe we might help them. Maybe the rest of the galaxy thinks we're just primitive animals, but those Zephyrians think we might be heroes. What do you think Earth Command will say? Lisa asked. Jake smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a person gets when they're about to do something dangerous, but necessary. I think they're going to be very interested in meeting this hegemony collective, he said. And I don't think the collective is going to like humans very much. The crew got back to work, but Jake could feel the change in the air. They all knew that this message would change everything. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. And somewhere out there, innocent people needed help. Jake had spent his whole career exploring peaceful space. But he had a feeling that was about to end.